You know what no one told me before I got married? That physical intimacy isn't just about the act. It's about feeling seen, connected, and loved.
And what no one told me, that without meaning to, I could make my husband feel like a roommate instead of a covenant partner.
If you've ever felt like something was off between you and your spouse, but couldn't quite name it, this conversation is for you.
Let's talk about why physical intimacy matters to your marriage way more than you might realize, and how to build a bond that lasts.
For a lot of husbands, physical intimacy isn't just something we need. It's something that helps us focus on our wives.
It's part of how they see us, their wives, as the most beautiful women in the world.
When we are physically close with our wives, it quiets our minds. It reminds us that we are seen, chosen, and connected to our wives. And it's like a reset button when the world gets loud. Imagine your phone is on 1% charge. It's that feeling you get when you finally plug it back into the charger. I can live again. I can survive. I can get through this. Think about it. How many times has being physically close just brightened your husband's day? Think back to those times, because that's how it is for the husband.
And let's be real, men are wired differently. Their sexual drive is stronger. It's easily activated, and when it's activated, it's hard to shut it off without feeling the emotional weight of it. Not because they're shallow, but because men are built for pursuit.
It's not just about sex, it's about oneness. I mean, let's look in Genesis 2 verse 24. It says, "The two shall become one flesh." That's not just physical, it's spiritual.
If you think physical intimacy is just physical, you're missing one of the biggest keys to emotional and spiritual connection in marriage.
This isn't about pressure, it's about partnership. Culture often makes men's needs a joke. Think of late night TV, social media, even some sermons.
You've heard it said, men want it all the time. Men just can't control themselves. Men just use women.
But that's not how God created us. Real godly men are not looking to use their wives. They're looking to connect with them, to be seen, to be known by their wives.
And when we believe those cultural lies, we can end up treating our husbands like they're just too much or wrong for desiring connection. That's how we end up friend-zoning our covenant partner without even realizing it. It's like bringing someone a heartfelt gift, something that cost you emotionally, but instead of it being received with joy, it's pushed aside like it's nothing. Over time, that changes you. You start to wonder, do they even want what I'm offering?
When a man risks vulnerability and it's met with rejection, it doesn't just wound them, it hardens their hearts. And soon, two people who made a covenant to become one will start living like polite strangers.
Let's be real, there are seasons where physical intimacy just isn't appealing. During your monthly cycles, healing after childbirth, during pregnancy, when you're exhausted from motherhood or just doing life, and when you're emotionally shut down.
And as husbands, we need to feel that too. We need to understand that there are times where our wives are not just rejecting us. They are emotionally and physically exhausted. That means we need to do something. We need to understand them in those moments, because it's not always that they're just rejecting us.
But even in those seasons, communication matters, grace matters, and remembering the call to cleave in those times matters. Think of intimacy like a garden. Some seasons are planting, some seasons are pruning, but nothing grows without tending. Even when it's not blooming, it still needs attention. It still needs care. You need to go check that everything is well. You've watered the plant. There are no weeds cutting it off. And then, in time, it's still growing and it's still coming out of the soil.
And like a well-kept garden, physical intimacy is a gift that keeps on giving. The times where we're close in our intimacy, I just feel like I love Shari more and more and more. And I get to see her as more and more beautiful. And it helps us in our emotional intimacy, in our connection, and in how well we feel we're working together as well. We're not called to perfection. We're called to connection. And that means working through the hard seasons together, taking it step by step and doing whatever you need to do to make it so you get through those seasons together. Physical intimacy isn't about being perfect. It's about staying connected even when life gets messy.
Marriage is about cleaving, not coexisting.
The Bible doesn't treat physical intimacy as optional.
In 1 Corinthians 7, verses 3 to 5, it reads, "The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband. In the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. Do not deprive each other except by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control."
Don't mistake this as a checklist. It's an invitation to pursue each other with love, not obligation. Imagine your husband's body is yours and your wife's body is also yours. You're equal in the way that you own each other. And that's a beautiful thing.
Marriage is a covenant, not a contract. When you both agree to this covenant, it includes physical oneness. It includes giving your bodies to each other and being connected in that amazing, deep, spiritual way that God created. That's just so beautiful.
And it's not just about duty. 'Cause I think that's a common misconception we can have towards this scripture, is that now we have a duty and now we have to fulfill it every night or every day or every hour, depending on how frequent you guys are. It's not about that. No, it's an opportunity that you have to connect with one another, to think about just your spouse in that moment. Because you shouldn't be thinking about anything else in that moment. It's just you and your spouse, and that is amazing.
I agree with that, because I felt that weight of duty. I must do this. I must make sure we have connected. I must. And it was more a weight on me, and it wasn't, drawing me to desire that time of intimacy. It was more, this thing is coming and I have to make sure, and I'm not like my husband, and my sex drive is not high, and he's gonna be wondering why is she not initiating. But now when I changed my mind to appreciate that God is actually teaching us something about how we can serve, how we can connect, and how even in there, because it talks about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are one, and they are in a closest relationship, and we can never really understand that, but God tries to help us to understand that through different ways. And I believe physical intimacy with your spouse is one way that you can try to grasp how connected and how amazing that closeness can be.
There was a season when I felt unwanted. I never questioned whether Shari loved me, but the fact that I kept initiating time and time again just hurt me, and it made me feel alone.
When Isaiah finally shared how he felt, it shocked me. I wasn't trying to withhold connection. I was just overwhelmed, and I didn't realize that deeply hurt him.
That's why communication matters, because without it, your spouse might be secretly hurting without you even knowing it.
Imagine our spouse is like a plant wilting in the corner. Actually, let me just show you. This is my orchid. Confession, obviously I'm not the best at maintaining this, and if you know anything about orchids, they're quite resilient. You don't actually have to give water every day and put in the sunlight, but I have obviously I've not kept it up well. I have not been the best at keeping it well. I've not watered it at least once a week. It's the same with our spouse. We need to tend to our marriage, to our connection, to our intimacy. We need to water it. Like I need to water this. Okay, it's different with my husband, don't worry. It's not like the old kid. There's much more care and tenderness going on here. But it's the same. We can neglect it in the same way. And for me, I'm not a plant person, and so I can be like, oh, it's just not my strong suit, and I just forget, it's not on my mind. But we need to be intentional. We need to put time towards it. And if we want it to bloom and to look amazing and to be healthy, we need to tend to it. We need to give it water. We need to put it in the sun. We need to check the soil, So I'm learning all these things. I'm learning to be a good gardener. But as a wife, I am learning how can I nurture and water my relationship with my husband so it grows and it blooms. Healing can begin even with small steps. There's a Swahili saying that I've said a few times, and my husband knows this. It says, haba na haba hujaza kibaba. And the saying basically means little by little fills the jar. So the kibaba is a jar. And it means you just put little by little, and that's how you start. So you can start with a simple, I miss you, I miss us, I see you, I want a connection with you. You can start with the small steps to build towards the bigger picture, the fuller picture, the plant growing in itself.
When we ignore physical intimacy, we don't just weaken the bedroom, we weaken the whole bond.
A disconnected marriage is vulnerable, not just physically, but spiritually.
If you feel like you friend zone your spouse, don't panic. You can take them out of the friend zone. It starts with a conversation.
Ask each other, where are we really? What do we need? How can I love you today?
When Shari asked me these questions, I was able to express to her that I felt like she never initiated even small things like a hug or small things like a kiss on the cheek. And that's all I needed. I didn't really need sex all the time. I didn't need sex every day. I just needed to know that she desired my body, that she desired me, that she feels like I am handsome, and that she wants me and she wants to connect with me physically. And I think it didn't help that one of my biggest love languages as well is physical touch. So that even made it way worse.
And it didn't help that my love language became less of physical touch after we had the kids, because I had too much physical touch with the kids all day long. So that was like, I don't want physical touch anymore. Like, I need 20 minutes where I don't get physical touch. So that didn't help.
So it helped us knowing where we were both at, and we were able to come to a compromise. And since then, it's not like Shari has given me a kiss every day. It's not like Shari has given me a hug every day. But I have noticed that she's more intentional in the little things she does just to show me that she does want me.
Absolutely. It's like the plant. I now look at it and I see it's wilting, and I think, I need to put some water into it. And because we communicated, and we laid it on the table, this is what I need. This is how you can love me. This is how I receive love. Then I'm thinking, okay, now I know exactly how my husband receives love, and then I can do those things. But before, because I didn't need them, I assumed he didn't need them, and that's just not the same. And the same way when you were earlier when you got married, and I felt like physical touch was too much. There were times when I had conversation and I said, oh babe, can I just have this kind of little time when I'm just, I'm feeling introverted and I just kind of want to be just quiet or whatever, because maybe I've just been talking all day with the kids and I just want to be quiet. And my husband respected that, and he'd find ways to be like, babe, do you want to go for a walk, or do you want to just have a little bit of a time out? And that was how he showed me love, by showing that he understood what I needed.
So you can do the same today, in an hour, 30 minutes, as soon as possible.
Right now.
Start right now. Connect again, and give each other grace. Because small steps are the best way to go towards big change. And give each other grace at each step, because at the end of the day, when you're trying to change, you will revert back at times.
Yep.
but we've got to just see from our spouse that change is trying to be made. If this helped, drop a comment below. What's one step you'll take this week?
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with another couple who needs it.
Marriage isn't about perfection.
It's about pursuit.